To Martin Cawley, who's the CEO of Beatson Cancer Charity. Good morning to you, Martin.
Hi, Kay, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. We also have with us David Lees, who had a renal cancer diagnosis in January 2023. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Kay. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
No, well, gosh, not at all. We're really grateful for you both to come along, and I've introduced you together because I know that you've got contact with each other. Martin, the way that we talk about cancer now in 2024, how important is it to talk about it at all, and how important is the way we talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Tessa was a fantastic ambassador there. Just listened to her own story and her own testimony. I think it says all. There's no reason to feel any stigma associated with having cancer. In fact, some of the best ways to cope with it is to talk about it, is to share that with your loved ones and your friends. They're going to be a big part of supporting you through that process. And I'm sure you'll hear from David himself about what that meant for him. But as far as we're concerned, as Beatson Cancer Charity, it's about where you can build circles of support around people to help them cope with that process of through their treatment, through their diagnosis, through their treatment, and then living with cancer beyond that.
And of course, it's marvellous if you have a supportive family group or friend group, but not everyone will.
Yeah, that's true. There's lots of services out there, Kay, that people might not be aware of. There's probably over 30 charities that are operating in and around Scotland that are part of what's called the Scottish Cancer Coalition. So it's a range of charities whose basic raison d'etre, their remit is to provide information, support, awareness on a whole range of different cancers. And there's lots of services. People out there, have got any anxieties whatsoever, they should visit the websites of charities like your own. You'll pick up information there. Organisations like Macmillan, you'll get more information there also. But if you've got any concerns whatsoever, talk to your healthcare professionals and your GPs, and they will point you in the right direction.
Does the word does still carry fear, doesn't it?
Of course it does. As soon as you get that diagnosis of cancer, I think that'll stimulate a whole range of different emotions in your mind, fear, shock, anxiety, uncertainty about the future, maybe even denial, maybe even sadness, and possibly anger even. I mean, there's a whole range of different complex emotions that will go on in people's minds, not just the person who's diagnosed with cancer, but also their families. And those things could be very stressful and cause increased anxiety. So it is important to find and navigate a way through that, because that will prepare you best for getting through your treatment journey.
David, how did you respond to it?
Probably in a very similar way, Kay, that Tessa earlier and Martin has just outlined. I mean, I'd been unwell for a few weeks before I ultimately was admitted to hospital with a hypercalcemia. I was showing signs in my bloods of having very high calcium levels, and my GP was terrific in navigating me very, very quickly to hospital one Wednesday evening, and within 48 hours I had a CT which confirmed I had a rather large and complex tumour in my abdomen joining onto my kidney. And yeah, those first moments, those first hours, those first couple of days, I mean, as Martin said, you go from denial to a bit of anger to sadness to confusion to all sorts of worries about what this is going to mean for yourself and your own mortality, but also your own family, and undoubtedly there is that kind of almost earthquake tremor effect as it goes across your own community, your family, your extended family, your friendship group, people that you've perhaps not spoken to for a while, all come back very, very quickly when you share that news with real shock, surprise, because obviously people are aware how kind of pervasive it is and how common cancer is. So, yeah, quite staggering set of emotions initially.
Had it been niggling at the back of your head or not?
It had. I'd started off, I'm always somebody who was very fit and active. I'd been to the gym, to a spin class, and that day it started off with a bit of back pain. I then went to my GP a week later and thought I had a UTI. That rumbled on for a few weeks. But as the symptom of this kind of abdominal pain became more constant, you put it down to, well, maybe it's just something that will go away tomorrow. I'll wake up and see how I am. But eventually I was brave enough, nudged by my wife, to go to see the GP who took that very, very seriously and managed that very proactively. But yeah, a bit of denial, but I did know that there was something going on that I needed to get some medical opinion, some assessment of. So I guess my first message in this conversation would be, if you have that doubt, and we all tend to know our bodies pretty well, take that first step and go and talk to your GP and listen to the advice of your family if you've been talking to them, and listen to them. Don't resist. There's nothing to be afraid of going to your GP and having it confirmed. There's nothing to worry about. You're not wasting their time. Equally, it might become something that you really need to do and do early. So early contact and early communication and early asking of those questions is really important.
And in terms of your family, I mean, your kids were sort of late teens, yeah?
Late teens, yeah, and in the middle of exams at that point as well, prelims at school or university exams. So I guess we took the decision to, after that initial shock of thinking, well, what do we know? What are the facts? And let's stick to that, really, because as a family, I think we've always been pretty pragmatic in terms of how we deal with most things in life. So our view was, tell them what we know. Don't speculate on things that we don't know, and try and just stick to as positive an interpretation of that as we can at that early point, and keep it pragmatic and keep it rational and keep it calm if we could.
In terms of talking about it within the family, I guess you don't want it to totally dominate family life. Is it hard to find the balance of how much you do talk about it, how much you just get on with? I don't know. What do you want for your tea tonight? What are you doing this weekend? I mean, how did you balance that?
Well, exactly those kind of things, because 99.9% of family life still has to continue. It doesn't and shouldn't come to a complete halt, because at that point we didn't quite know exactly what was going on. We knew I had a cancer diagnosis. We knew I was going to start a relatively toxic process of drugs combination therapy. So we stuck to what we knew. But yeah, I've always been somebody who tried to kind of bring a bit of humour, sometimes inappropriately maybe, into the conversation, making light of my diagnosis. But try to keep it light enough, more so that I could deal with it personally at this first stage, and also to give people permission to feel okay about it where you can, because the last thing you want is everybody else being dragged down by the emotion and the weight of the circumstance. So making light of it, talking about it, and over time that did become a lot easier.
Yeah, I guess that becomes your new habit. And where are you now with it?
Well, I'm just over 12 months on, having been through a pretty toxic process of 7 or 8 months worth of drug treatment. That led to some nasty side effects for me. So in August of last year, I was left with some fairly significant lung inflammation. So there's a big question mark as to whether I came off the drugs, which I did, and go on to steroids to try and reduce this lung inflammation. And ultimately, it was decided that actually, because I was relatively asymptomatic with this big lung inflammation, the huge amount of conversations that go on behind the scenes between my oncologist, the anaesthetist, the surgeon, the respiratory consultant, all these conversations go on in the background that you're not aware of. But that's why it is absolute testament to the NHS that when you really do need that kind of skilled, knowledgeable, experienced insight. Those people all came together and formed the view that me going through surgery was the right thing. I had surgery in September, and since then I've been on a process of rehabilitation and recovery. So I'm at a point just now where I'm currently cancer-free. I'm in the early stages of being monitored, waiting for this lung inflammation to further clear up, and then possibly I may be back onto a low dose of an anti-cancer medication, because although the tumour and the kidney were removed cancer-free, there may still be one or two rogue cells in my system. We just don't know. So wait and see. But for now, I'm in a good place, feeling good, feeling positive, learning still how to deal with being a cancer patient. But I'm in a place where I'm prepared to take whatever comes next and take the positives from that.
Has it changed you as a person?
That's a pretty deep question. Undoubtedly, I would say that both as a person and as a family, I think, because you do get to a point where you become very much you, but you're also you as a cancer patient. So undoubtedly, I think it's changed me in my perspective, in that I probably will spend less time speculating and more time on the facts. I'll probably I'm more aware of the fact that I need to stay fit and healthy and keep eating well, and probably I've spent less time. I spend more time probably avoiding drama, I would think, So any negativity, I try and walk around it rather than get involved in it these days. So probably small things like that probably add up to a fairly big combination of things, Kay, I would say. But undoubtedly it has changed me, and still early days to understand what those changes are. But I've always been pragmatic and pretty positive, and it's now working hard at remaining pragmatic and positive when you know that you are or have been a cancer patient. So working hard at that stuff. And for me, the last thing is sticking with the things that work for me, which is the more that I'm exercising, the more that I feel in control of my own body, the more I feel I'm in a better place.
David, listen, thank you very, very much indeed, and wishing you all the very best moving forward. Thanks also to Martin Cawley, CEO of Beatson Cancer Charity.